I could run through all the news for you here, but let's just chat with him about what happened this weekend and where we go from here. I got a million things to ask him about. So class is in session, Professor Dulio, and thank you for having us.
Thanks for having me, Michael Patrick. It's always nice to talk to you.
My listeners are the type that are sitting in the front row because they're very eager to hear what you say. They're not texting in the back row or falling asleep or anything like that. We're ready for you, okay? I promise. And first things first, I guess, is to ask how you felt or what you saw or what you observed or what you thought about Donald Trump coming into Michigan again this weekend. He apparently had about 6,000 or 7,000 people there in the Warren area who showed up, according to MERS News. They were at the Macomb Community College Sports and Expo Center. And not only was he there, Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the, well, let's say one of the stars of the right, the Republican from Georgia, was there too, and John James spoke, and Christina Caramo spoke, and Matt DePerno and Tudor Dixon. And, of course, Donald Trump got up there and, near as I can tell, played the hits and all the grievances that he has against the world and hinted that he might just run again for president. That's the summary, the highlights that I saw. Take us behind the scenes.
Yeah, I guess I'd have a couple reactions to it. One is, Donald Trump, when he speaks to whether it's here in Michigan or anywhere across the country, seems to make it about himself rather than about the candidates who are running in 2022, right? He's ostensibly here to help Tudor Dixon and Matt DePerno and Christina Caramo and John James, but the vast majority of the time in that 100 or so minute speech was focused on him. And so I think that's always something to remember with former President Trump. Number two, I would say, is that the fine line that Republicans are trying to walk was on display Saturday, right? They want to and they need Trump voters. They need to keep them in the fold while also trying to reach out to independent voters, persuadable voters, because that's going to make up their winning coalition should they be able to assemble it. And you saw Lieutenant Governor candidate Shane Hernandez talk about the fact that his campaign, along with Tudor Dixon, they want to focus on things like education and economy and crime. Nowhere in that set of issues is relitigating 2020, which is, of course, what Donald Trump wants to talk about.
He does, and he wants to talk about what's happening with him in New York and issues that really wouldn't matter to people of Michigan, it seems to me. And just to speak about the Trump crowd for a minute here, and mind you, I'm not picking a side, one side or another, but when Donald Trump goes on his Truth Social website and says that Senator Mitch McConnell has a death wish because he's siding with Democrats, that is wildly, in the climate we're in today, irresponsible, don't you think?
Well,
death wish?
It is certainly hyperbolic. It is certainly over-the-top rhetoric that we could use. Let's just say we could use a lot less of that kind of language these days, given some of the things that have happened and some of the other language that's been out there.
So, some screwball somewhere thinks, I'm going to go help the Donald and take him out. That's my biggest fear in this situation when you use words like that. And I know in politics there are a lot of words like battle and even the governor. I'm going to fight like hell for abortion. Good heavens. It's unbelievable, and it's disturbing to me. Now, here's the crowd when Tudor Dixon was speaking at the Trump rally, or was it a Dixon rally? I don't know, about Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Here's how the crowd reacted.
Doing any public events because she's afraid of, what was that sound again? Yeah, I guess.
Lock her up, Professor Dulio, they started shouting, just like the kidnappers wanted to do.
Well, that's obviously a holdover from 2016. and when every Trump rally, it seemed, featured that chant about Hillary Clinton. My hunch is that it's just that it's a holdover. It's fun and easy for them to say.
It's ironic, too, though, because Donald Trump started that whole lock her up business over Hillary Clinton's emails, if I'm not mistaken. And
right.
Now he's the one caught holding the bag of documents at Mar-a-Lago that he might not ought to have.
Unquestionably, and it's and obviously the Trump investigation, or the investigation into Donald Trump, has gone further, it seems, than the one into Hillary Clinton, and there's at this point in time certainly more danger of that happening to Trump than it is anybody else.
There's definite irony in that. Of course, all that does is make him even more of a victim to the crowd who really, truly have this Svengali belief in him, right?
No, yeah, absolutely, and it just further it almost endears him to them, and it makes his supporters bow up and say things like. Well, to your point about the death wish comment, right? Even more likely to echo that sentiment, or God forbid, listen to him and take some action.
When we get back with Professor Dave Dulio at Oakland University in Rochester, he's the director of the Center for Civic Engagement and a professor in the Political Science Department. We'll ask about this business. That Trafalgar Group says Tudor Dixon is only 6 points down to Governor Whitmer. Can it be true? Where is the governor anyway these days? And also I want to talk about Christina Caramo, the Secretary of State candidate. Why is she so political, and why is that position so political to begin with in the first place? And also the rise now of Ron DeSantis to maybe foil Donald Trump, or trump him if you're a euchre player. It's Michael Patrick Shields through the AT&T microphones all across Michigan on your Monday. Donald Trump came to Michigan to give a kick to the campaigns. Did it work? Michael Patrick Shields, radio stations across the state of Michigan. Dave Dulio, Oakland University in Rochester on our AT&T line. Tudor Dixon says she's within striking distance of Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who she said is running a basement campaign. Trafalgar Group says Dixon is 6 points down and that her message is resonating with voters even though she's way overmatched financially. Your thoughts on that number?
Yeah, the Trafalgar Group has got a pretty good record of
do they
being accurate, and we've seen challenge to pollsters over the last several election cycles for missing the outcome, at least in terms of margin. Trafalgar's been pretty good. If memory serves, and I think that it's entirely possible that Tudor Dixon is within 6 points of Governor Whitmer. I think that is still, however, a lot of ground to make up to get her to a point where she is going to be victorious on Election Day, and I think that the financial disadvantage that the Dixon campaign has is going to continue to be seen over the next 5 or 6 weeks.
Is that the kind of ground you can make up in a debate?
Not all at once, unless there is a huge mistake by Governor Whitmer, and I think the one of the examples or one of the things we can look at is last year's Virginia gubernatorial race. Glenn Youngkin and Terry McAuliffe, when Terry McAuliffe made the gaffe of the year for 2021 and made the comments about how he didn't think parents should have any say in what happens in their kids' schools. Well, that immediately changed the race from Glenn Youngkin being down a significant margin to vaulting into the lead. Absent that kind of mistake in a debate, I think the Dixon campaign is hoping to chip away little by little at Gretchen Whitmer over the next several weeks.
She's got communication skills, Tudor Dixon. I mean, it's probably going to be a pretty fair fight in that regard.
Oh, sure, but it's really, for me, it's about does she have the firepower? Does she have the money power to spread a message, which I think could be salient and could really resonate with a lot of folks in Michigan.
I noticed that Christina Caramo was making a lot of noise. She's the Republican Secretary of State candidate at this Trump rally on the weekend. Why do I find it, is it naive of me to find it distasteful that the job of Secretary of State in Michigan is political at all?
Not at all. I think if we remember prior Secretary of State campaigns, we've not seen one like this, right? Where it's about where one candidate is making it about a purely political issue. It used to be, if in the 20 years or so that I've been following Michigan politics, it's been about the efficiency and effectiveness of the Secretary of State's office. Right? How long are the wait times at my local branch? What else can I get in an online version of renewing my driver's license, of renewing my vehicle tags or my boat license, that sort of thing. It was really about competency and effectiveness, efficiency, if you will, rather than about politics.
Does the current Secretary of State bear some of the responsibility for turning it into a political position?
Yeah, interesting question. I think yes. I think in 2020, when the decision was made to send the absentee ballot applications to everybody in Michigan, I think that opened up the sort of a Pandora's box in terms of political critique of her office.
If they had just left the system alone despite the pandemic, then nobody would have anything to complain about, right?
Well, I think, certainly political opponents will find anything to complain about. I think
You're right.
It would have...
That was very naive of me, Professor. Sorry.
I think, but there would be a smaller opening. Let's put it that way. The door may have been opened only a crack rather than swung wide open for opponents to walk through.
Is Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, getting the airtime that he's getting now under very, very, very unfortunate and tragic situation in Florida, the leading candidate for the Republicans for president?
I don't think he is. I think Donald Trump
Really?
still is.
You still think that?
I do. Yeah, I think Trump is. In fact, I think it's Trump's nomination if he wants it. The poll after poll after poll shows that he is favored by a plurality of Republican primary voters.
What will break the spell, if anything?
Well, Ron DeSantis could again. He's got a lot of time before we start to have really engage in the 2024 GOP primary in any substantive way. So he's got a lot of time to continue to build his persona, build his brand, if you will, and convince folks that he's a better option.
What do you make of the Slotkin race? She's going to join us in just a couple of minutes, Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin versus Senator Tom Barrett.
Boy, it appears that it's one of, if not the most knockdown, drag-out congressional races of 2022. It is the top race in terms of outside spending, tens of millions of dollars from both sides, from the Republican campaign committee, the NRCC, the DCCC, all over the place.
Thank you very much for the valuable time. Dave Dulio, he's got class today. Civic Engagement at Oakland University, professor in the Political Science Department. It's Michael Patrick Shields. We learn as we go, and we are keeping notes.